So here we are in this fifth and final lesson in our series called A Church Alive. And today, as you know, Trevor's talking about the faithfulness of the church found in the book of Acts and the faithfulness needed in the church today. And when I think about faithfulness in ministry at Central Christian Church, I think about guys like Randy Sells and Howard Krapps. Howard was the senior pastor at Central for a long time. Howard, you started here in 1972?
Correct.
And you served as the senior pastor for how long?
26 years.
You have been a Christian for 82 years. And this year, right now, you're 94.
Yeah.
You preached your first sermon when you were 19, which means right now you've been in ministry for 75 years, which is just incredible. I mean, of course you're the person we're talking to about faithfulness. So Howard, tell us about, through your life, how have you remained faithful to God in your walk with Him and in your ministry?
Well, it began from my relationship with the Lord. It was strong, and it just kept me going and doing when sometimes you didn't feel like it. But I've always preached faithfulness to the people in the congregation, and I've always tried to practice what I preach. And I thought, if I'm going to ask them to be faithful, I need to be faithful. God is faithful, I need to be faithful. And I just encourage people to be faithful. If they accept a position in church, be faithful to it. If you accept the Lord, be faithful to Him.
So how, on the tough days, as you're going through life, 50 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, how do you stay faithful?
Realizing, first of all, that I'd made a commitment and that Christ had done so much for me, and staying in the Word, staying close to Him, has given me the strength and the courage to keep going, and I enjoy it.
Yeah.
And faithfulness is just a part of my vocabulary, and I hope to be faithful as long as I'm able.
And you've stayed faithful through some really difficult things. I mean, you've had death in your family.
Yes. And my wife's off and on battled with cancer for 20 years. And I've lost a son. But life is good. And God continues to bless, and Jesus is always close.
Yeah.
And this church has been a good support for us.
Today, just in our world, we live in a world that is so opposite of faithful. How would you encourage the people watching right now to be faithful in every area of their life?
Well, first of all, look to Jesus, because the Son of God is faithful to us. He went to the cross, and He's invited us to come and live with Him, and I want to do that. And I knew that the route would require faithfulness. So that's been one of my main goals in life, be faithful to the Lord to the very end, and do the best I can as long as I can.
Yeah, that's such good advice from a man who has just been such an example of literal godly faithfulness, both in ministry and just in his personal life as a man. And to Howard's point, when we are faithful, we are imitating Christ. We're honoring God by following His word. 2 Timothy 2:13 says, even if we are unfaithful, He remains faithful, for He cannot deny who He is.